I with the commission request Ms. Chakravarti to present your paper. Thank you.
Respected coordinator and all the honored scholars gathered here. I'm thankful to Ramakrishna Mission for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I do miss Ms. Srimati Kapilaji, who has always been a sort of a godparent for our family, and I wish that she recovers soon. At the outset, I would like to tell you that my subject is very vast, and the Caesars refuse to snip off anything. So, with due apology, I'll try to, sort of go fast. Not first, fast. Okay. Assam, the glorious land of greenery, of flora and fauna, thriving in the remote northeast corner of India, has her own dignified pace in developing her own culture, her religious ethos, and her ethnic strain in meeting the rest of her extended family in India. Assam is meek, gentle, amiable, and conscientious in her ways. It is a different matter, though, that some trouble has been going on persistently in this wonderfully peaceful land. No country has ever been known to remain stable, and the way the human body suffers from maladies, the land too suffers. On the other hand, as ailments get cured in due time, we expect our problems too to resolve. The name Assam has come to our land in due course of history. The Mahabharata, the Kalika Puran, the Bhagavat, and the Yogini Tantra has mentioned this land not as Assam but as Kamarupa. To this land of Assam, the origin of drama was initiated to cater to the religious instinct of the people. The people of Assam, the avowed guardians of humanism, have established the devotion not merely in terms of aesthetic pleasure, but of religious solace. As drama does not merely delight, but teaches easily, it became the ideal way for the Vaisnava cult to have its sway over the hearts of the people. Tracing out the probable influences that existed in the 14th and early 15th century, which influenced Assamese drama, we find the venerated Sanskrit dramas to have played a strong role. The Sanskrit dramas, though, were from the refined courtly circles and satirized the taste for gallantry, eroticism, and economic sciences. But the Assamese dramas, when the ball was set rolling by the saint Sankaradeva, was virtually for the propagation of bhakti in the minds of the people on very simple and lucid terms to appeal to the understanding of simple folks. Secondly, if these Sanskrit dramas were for the elite class, the yatras were for the humble folks. These yatras prevailed in Assam, and these performances were much before Saint Sankaradeva had written his dramas. The type of yatra that existed then were believed to be religious, but this too is based on surmise. The third influence on the growth of Assamese drama are the Ojapali. These were formed by a band of 4 to 5 or more singers. The Oja is the leader of the group, and the Palis are the other singers, who again have a chief among them who is known as Daina Pali. As the show begins, the Oja sets the refrain, which is called the Diha, and the Palis follow suit in singing, marking time and rhythm with their feet, their hands simultaneously striking the smaller cymbals, which are called Kutital, as they sing the verses or the pada to the audience. The Oja creates a space in the minds of the audience with a distinctive role as a singing storyteller, explaining at times the incidents of the tale he is narrating in his song. At times, these explanations are made by the Dainapali too. The Oja and Dainapali dance with marked gestures and postures using hasta mudras. We can venture to call the show as almost a drama, as there is a story told or recounted, and yet it is not a drama proper, for there is the absence of actors and dialogues. The Ojapali choruses of Assam are of two kinds. One is Manasa worshipping Ojapali, and These present tales from Mankar and Durgavara. The remarkable aspect of this Manasa Ojapali is that the viewers get to observe the frenzied dance of a Deodhani. There are no extant traces of any written Manasa literature prior to Sankaradeva. The dance of a Deodhani is very frenzied as she dances as one possessed or in a sort of trance. Age-old practices prompts people who face difficult situations or problems in life to dare to approach her and ask their answers to their trying circumstances. These answers are 100% believed in, as the belief goes that Deodhani is possessed by the god during this trance. It requires the help of an Oja to revive a possessed Deodhani or even a Deoda. Deodhani dancing needs instrumental music as she is a mute dancer. A Deodhani is said to be as old as the hills. They are introduced by an Oja who sing the lyrics of the Padma Puran composed by Narayan Dev and Mankar. The Deodhani performs her initial dance on her own, and as the chorus begins, she proceeds into the intricacies of her dance. It is said that the fresh appeal of a Deodhani performance arises from the fact that the 13 poses she makes in the progress of her dance are borrowed from the Naitya Shastra of the sage Bharat Muni. The second type of Ojapali is the Vyas Goa. They are termed thus as the words of Vyasa, the accredited author of the Mahabharata, are sung. The Oja usually sing from Durgavara's Giti Ramayan, Pitambara's Ushaparina, and Ramayan and the Mahabharata stories. Dr. Maheshwar Yog is offhandedly reluctant to attribute to the Ojapali performance the credit of backing Shankaradeva's dramas. He suggests that the genesis of other medieval dramatic forms like Kathakali, Yakshagana, Bhagavati Mela Nataka are to be seen too. The Ojapali chorus may at best be the precursor of the orchestral bands or of the Gayan and the Bayan of later dramatic performance. The contention that Sankaradeva had bettered what the Ojapali performance shows by providing actors with dialogues was rubbished off by Dr. Nyo. He states that the Sankaradeva plays have a Sutradhar who may be seen as most as a prototype of the Oja in an Ojapali performance. This makes the Ojapali a party of singers and dancers performing as a chorus. In the Vaishnav ambience, the Ojapali is not singing a hymn as such, but is presenting a story from a religious book with religious precepts. Dr. Niyog refutes Kaliram Medhi's contention that Sankaradeva's dramas originated from the Ojapali by highlighting the differences between Sankaradeva's Sutradhar and the Oja of the Ojapali. An Oja can rise to the height of drama only if there is the presence of drama in its chorus performance. What the Oja and the Dhanapali introduce can be gone into the entire length of it in a drama with actors and dialogues enacting the scenes. But such is not the case. The fourth influence on Assamese dramas are to be seen from the are said to be from the Putola Nas or puppetry. In Assam, puppets are called Putola, where putolas or dolls made of wood or cardboard joined at the shoulders, elbows, waist and neck with strings or wires are used. The putola owner manipulates the strings deftly to make the dolls perform. He himself speaks the dialogue or sings the songs to the accompaniment of the khol. Khol is a drum. Episodes from the Ramayana unfold and the audience are transported. Putola dance performance is a very old dance practice in Assam, though it is presently neglected. Dr. Virendranath Datta holds that Putola performances are Panchalika Vehra, that is mentioned in the Kalika Puran, way back in the 9th and 11th centuries. Panchalika is a puppet and Vehra means the show. It is during the time of Durga Puja, Ras Mahotsav, Dol Jatra or Diwali that people look forward for the Putola Nas performance. Putola Nases begin with a vandana followed by other songs as a preliminary welcome to the audience and is also meant to create the mood for the dramatic performance. Initially, before the dance proper begins, Two puppets are shown to enter the stage and make a show of sweeping the stage floor so that the audience ascertain the extent of the stage where the performance will take place. The argument that the puppet owner holds the strings and is hence the Sutradhar, from which Sutradhar Sankaradeva has taken his Sutradhar for his nuts, is a contention to be brushed off. Even the view that Oja has given Sankaradeva the idea about the Sutradhar is a trifle ludicrous. Another practice prevalent in Assam during pre-Shankaradeva times is the recitation of holy works by Stutidhar or Kathanistha Pandit, who is skilled in recitation. The rise and fall in intonation, the pleasant charm of his narration of various stories was lapped up by the audience, who could relate very well to such renderings. This was a very well-known practice in Kamrup. Trying to find the roots that led to the birth of drama in Kamrup, one will most certainly be left bemused. Where shall one throw the light of the torch? It is most certain that the human mind is not immune to thought responses, nor does it induct one definite influence all on its own. It is all a process of gradually imbibing the world around us, and reflection follows reflection, though what actually takes place may not be the 2+2 formula. The grand march of the inevitable birth of Assamese drama has already begun, and at the vanguard stood the great saint Sankaradeva in the 15th century. With his scholarship, serious intent, devotional integrity, and spiritual zeal, the great saint has set his mind and heart all the while he was away from home on his pilgrimage for 12 long years. His mental makeup was somewhat unique, and the genius was not such as would take a page from another. He was an original genius. As we have discussed folk art, be they as dance, song, narrative, or the use of plain mudras to express bhavas, it is a very natural inclination in man. They are a means of expression to tell a story and communicate. Such ways may not be in drama proper, but they are dramatic efforts made, be they silent or eloquent. The inherent property is a story with a message. Dialogues help in understanding, but during the early period of our history, oral folk efforts were very much in vogue. They were those first efforts made absolutely unconsciously. Whither they went is not important, but go they must. It becomes a tale of fortitude, a people's desire to know. These were the small efforts to great things and involvement of hearts and minds wanting to tell and know of devout truths. Dance and drama have always had a very congenial togetherness. The Naitya Shastras have always directed dramas to be written with the inclusion of dances. This makes the ancient Sanskrit word rupa to be considered as dramatic performance, though dance has preceded drama. It is said that in India, drama originated from the dance of Lord Shiva in the very way Greek tragedy began from the dance at the Greek god Dionysus' temple. Folk drama in Assam has passed from man to man, generation by generation. They had to do with the life of the simple village folks, spiced with the very basic of gestures, folk dance and folk songs. When the lives of a people move forward, development and progress is sure to evolve. Hence, proper dialogue that drama necessitated at that early time of history is surely to be expected. Their way of life, simplicity, and illiteracy precluded such refined folk performances. All that their hearts sought was to celebrate a successful harvest or offer thanksgiving to the Lord. Myths and legends of their lives, as well as light farcical episodes highlighting the follies and foibles of the social scene, was also embraced. They were just in the very simplest of form and oral tradition. It will be very unwise to suggest that they are not a part of our tradition, however gingerly they may have initially planted the roots. They were raw and stark, but they cannot be repulsed. When Sankaradeva arrived as the initiator of drama proper, he hailed ingloriously not only a religion on the crucible of literature, but he handed over to Assam a rich heritage of literary art. Dr. Nyar beautifully states that the period was one of principle, the principle of bhakti. It was a period for the God, the Lord Krishna. It was a period when only one ruled, and he was Sankaradeva. It was a period of just one work, and that was the Bhagavad Puran. The writers of this period, having had to depend solely on the Bhagavad, had their creativity affected, but Sankaradeva and his apostle Madhavdeva flourished with their literary work, mainly graced by the Bhagavad, as well as their own basic imagination, inspiration, and expertise. These were delightfully accepted by the people. Prior to the time of Sankaradeva, Assam had no written drama to speak of, and it is to him that the credit of the Ankiya Nag can be given. He was a scholar in the true sense of the term, and his vast repertoire of knowledge, as well as his 12 years of vast travel, had lent to his nags a chiseled preciseness. As the father of Assamese drama, he had lent to his natak, yatra, or nritya a style that was his own. His plots, as has been mentioned earlier, are from the Bhagavad Puran, though his Ramvijay Nag is from the Ramayana. He rendered Rukmini Haran and Parijat Haran from the stories of the Bhagavad, influenced by the Harivamsa. Sankaradeva did not believe in a crisp adherence to the original, and therefore he made his own minor alterations as he thought it proper, and always at the back of his mind, the prime thought was how to make his nags appealing so that the people would be able to grasp the substance as well as the marrow. He does not in the process complicate the action, but he brings in subplots to show them as arising naturally as the incidental actions. I'm trying to cut short some of the portions, otherwise it will be very long. Okay. With his Ankiya Nags or Ankiya Bhavnas, Sankaradeva inculcated to Assam's cultural treasure house the promise of a prodigious world. The epithet Ankiya Nag do not apply to the great body of drama text nor to the charitas, but popularly refer to the Sankarite plays which typify the early dramas of Sankaradeva. They clearly reflect the Bhakti movement. The great saint wrote his plays in one act, and his Sutradhar had an important role to play in them from the first to